Happy Halloween, my fellow ghouls and ghosties. Today we're here to talk about Barbarian, a film written and directed by Zach Cregger, starring Georgina Campbell, who plays Tess, Bill Skarsgård, who plays Keith, and Justin Long, who plays AJ. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get into the story first of all. No spoilers, just going to be talking about the general concept, then my kind of thoughts and feelings on it, and then maybe we'll get into a bit of spoiler territory. So yes, if you're new here, this is a new channel. I'll be discussing film reviews, I'll be discussing book reviews, and maybe even playing a few horror games. So if you're new and you enjoy what you like, please subscribe and follow, and tell all your friends. So let's dive right in. Yeah, so Georgina Campbell plays Tess. She's traveling to Detroit to conduct a job interview. She wants to work on this documentary film. She's a big fan of the director, but the area that she's in Detroit is very dilapidated. She turns up at night. It's raining. It's the stereotypical Gothic tradition in that respect. She's rented this Airbnb, and she goes to where the key is meant to be locked, and the key's not there. She tries calling the host of the Airbnb, can't get through, but then realizes that someone is in the house. She rings the doorbell, and Bill Skarsgård turns up as Keith. He's there. He's just as surprised as she is. They've apparently booked the same Airbnb through different websites. Seeing that it's late at night, that it's raining, he asks her to come in. She is initially very skeptical and very on defense, because why wouldn't you be? And it kind of plays out, the first part of this film plays out in that sort of, what's going on here? We don't really know. Bill Skarsgård is great in his role as Keith. He's very obliging. He has a kind of Norman Bates kind of aura about him. He's very friendly. He's very, very accommodating. He lets her sleep, and he says, look, you take the bed, I'm going to take the couch. He washes the sheets, so that when she comes out of her room, sort of thing, that the bed will be ready. He even at one point has a glass of wine and waits for her to have a shower, I think it is, until he says, like, look, I didn't want to open this bottle of wine without you seeing me open it, because there's a lot of bad guys out there. So instantly we're thinking, okay, well, I don't know what's going on here. Without going into spoilers, as I said, the film then cuts, and we're sort of transported to Justin Long's character, AJ. He plays an actor who's working on this TV show. I forget the name off the top of my head. And he's on the phone. He's driving in his kind of car. Hasn't got a care in the world. Life is good for him, but he gets a call. It's the director or the producers, and they're basically letting him go from the show amidst allegations of sexual harassment. Now, it transpires that he's actually the owner of this Airbnb, so he's now needing to get his funds in order, get his house together, because he's off this show now, and he just needs to get some money fast. So he goes to the Airbnb, and he discovers that the previous occupants are still there. We also cut to another segment now, and I was really surprised because Richard Brake is in this one. He is a fantastic actor. Brown eyes, yeah, like from The Mandalorian. I love Richard Brake. When I saw him, I kind of I squeed with delight. I went, oh, it's Richard Brake, great. Their section does a bit of a time jump. We're now in the Reagan era, and we find out more about this particular house, its occupants, and what mysteries lie, particularly in the basement. So I can't really speak about anything more without going into spoilers. I'll just tell you my thoughts. What I really loved about Barbarian is that it subverts your expectations of the genre. And what I mean by that is there are a lot of scenes that, you've seen before. And if you're a horror fan, you've seen these kind of, these shots of down a dark tunnel at a Dutch angle, making you feel uneasy, but then something else happens that just kind of blows your mind. I usually don't jump during scary films, just because I feel like I've been a bit desensitized. You can telegraph when a jump scare is going to come, and no, I do not appreciate when you just have a loud noise. That's not a jump scare. That's just a loud noise that jars you. So, but no, there was generally one moment in this film that I literally leapt out of my chair. I did a whole kind of star-spangled jump. And it wasn't, I knew it was coming. It was the way this came. And I'll explain that in a second. But just a bit of foresight into this. Yeah, so the script started out after director and writer Zach Kreger read the Gavin de Becker's book, The Gift of Fear, which encourages women to trust their intuition when confronted by obviously dangerous men. He used it as a writing exercise and began crafting a 30-minute short that consisted entirely of a conversation in which a woman continues to ignore a mounting series of red flags. And this is what this is. Tess goes in and there are just one after the other, these little things that when she goes to sleep, she does stay the night. When she goes to sleep, the door opens and she obviously thinks it's Bill Skarsgård's character. He liked it well enough that he kind of had the makings of a longer film and began conceptualizing it to a broader story with more characters. And I think that really helps this. There are some like jump cuts to different characters, to different eras even, but it really pulls together. Zac Efron was originally meant to be cast as the role of AJ, and he turned it down. There's a smugness to this guy. There's a kind of overconfidence that verges on aggression that he plays sublimely later on in the film that manifests to another level. But there's some great elements of comedy in this as well. When I say comedy, more humor, subtle humor. One scene in particular is when Justin Long goes back to check out the house to see if he can basically sell it for a quick buck. He has a tape measure and he's kind of measuring out the whole house because he needs to know the kind of square foot footage to see if he can get more money for it. And there's some really nice elements at play with that tape measurer that come in later on. A few things. So the film is set on 476 Barbary Street. The year 476 was when the barbarians invaded Rome. Director Kreger insisted that this was unintentional and purely coincidental, but I think, there's some truth in the matter there. Although not officially credited in any way, Jordan Peele was an invisible hand in shaping the eventual story. Georgina Campbell told IndieWire in an interview, Zach Kreger is good friends with Jordan Peele, and I think he spoke to Jordan Peele a lot while he was writing the film. And Jordan saw an early cut of it as well, so he definitely was kind of a part of the essence of the movie. And you do kind of get that. There is stylistically some certain shots from a low angle, like looking up, from very kind of had a psycho element as well with it, where the detective comes into the room and the mother kind of comes through. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Barbarian. It subverts your expectations. It's a ride where you don't see the next scene coming. Like, you can't really telegraph where what's going to happen next, which is always good. It's always good to be on your feet. Coincidentally or not, the title includes letters Airbnb in Barbarian. So I was sitting there at first thinking, who is the Barbarian of this film? What is the Barbarian of this film? So there's some really good elements. There's film's visual presentation is like a Fincher movie on the top floor and a Raimi movie under the house. So now I'll get into spoilers because I can't really talk anymore about it without it. So Tess's segment, her first segment, ends with her going down to the basement. There's a door that she gets locked in a few times. There's a few red herring moments where you think maybe Bill Skarsgård is going to turn out to be a Norman Bates type of character. But effectively, he's not. He is actually just a nice guy trying to help out this woman who's booked the same Airbnb room as him. No, what it transpires to be is that there is this creature down in the basement, the mother as such. And what essentially happens is through the telegraphed scenes of the Reagan area with Richard Brake, we find out that Richard Brake's character, Frank, is actually a serial killer. He essentially goes round dressed up as a boilerman or an electrician, I can't remember which one it is now, knocks on these doors of these pretty women that he sees, says, I just need to kind of check your fuses or your breaker. It's that era where, you could leave your door, well, I wouldn't say leave it open, but more welcoming, without wanting to see credentials and whatnot. So a woman lets him in, and he essentially kind of opens a window for him later on to come in and attack her, kidnap her, whatever. He obviously takes these women down to his basement because he owns the original house back in the 70s, 80s. And he has his way with them and essentially breeds people that are down there. Now, they have this kind of supernatural strength. There's this one person. So Tess goes down. She gets locked down there. She's trying to find a way out. Bill Skarsgård helps, but they eventually get trapped down in this kind of these tunnels. There's an underground maze-like lair underneath the house that has this woman who has never seen, well, daylight before as such. She's this hideously grotesque, very reminiscent of the creature at the end of Wreck, when they're up in the attic and you see that it's all kind of like the night vision goggles, like very elongated limbs and arms. But the only thing that she has as a source of information of the world, I guess, or just general, is a TV VHS tape of this woman effectively breastfeeding a baby. So that's all she knows in life. So anyone that comes down there, she's essentially going to treat as a child. It's a very kind of sweet mixed with a very somber, macabre element to it. So we then cut to AJ. He's coming back. He realizes that the previous occupants are still there. He sees their bags. And he also then goes down into the basement where chaos ensues, essentially. He comes across Richard Brake's character, who's an old man now, who's bedridden, that is just watching tapes of his previous conquests, whether he's killed them, murdered them. And yeah, he pulls out a gun, shoots himself, obviously in his last moments, thinking that when Justin Long's character says, we're going to call the cops, we're going to get the cops around, and he knows that they're going to find a whole mess of different things down there. So he offs himself. And yeah, it becomes essentially AJ's character and Tessa's character trying to get out of the house. I would thoroughly recommend this film. I would give this a 9 out of 10, possibly a 9.5. It doesn't break the mold, but it just does something different, new and fresh, with the kind of like trapped in a house type environment. Yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend this. So yeah, check this out when you can. On Wednesday, I'll be reviewing Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes, a sci-fi horror novel set in space about a ragtag motley crew, bunch of maintenance workers that hear a distress beacon of a decades-lost luxury cruiser. They go to check it out. And then on Friday, I'll be playing a game with Emily. We'll be going through checking out people's phones. That's all I'd say for that. So yeah, please, if you've liked this small review, then give me a like, subscribe along, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.